Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel and happy Tumbler Tuesday. In today's tutorial, I'm going to show you how I created this double V-split tumbler using two different vinyl patterns and pinstriping. I will list and link all of the items I used in the description box below. Alright, let's go ahead and jump in. I'm using this beautiful fall leaf pattern vinyl and this orange and blue plaid vinyl as well. I don't remember exactly where I got these from, but I will do some research and figure that out and list it in the link box below. I'm also using a 20-ounce skinny. This was actually a sublimation tumbler that went wrong, so I'm going ahead and recycling it and using it for this tutorial. I'm going to go ahead and start measuring out where I need to cut my vinyl to create my first V pattern. I went ahead and made sure I cut off all of this excess white trimming around my vinyl. You can leave it if you want to, but I chose just to remove it. This is the first time that I've really worked with doing a V split on a tumbler, never mind doing two V splits, technically three if you count the glitter as a V split. And it was really late the night that I made this. I started making this at like 9-10 o'clock Sunday night, trying to get it done for today's tutorial. So I was super tired and it took me a few minutes and a few tries to get this on there perfectly straight how I needed it. So you get to see me struggle a little bit here, but once it was on, we were good to go. Once I had it on the way I wanted it, I kind of pulled that vinyl up over that edge and went in with an X-Acto knife. Make sure when you're cutting off the excess vinyl, you're using a sharp X-Acto knife, only because if not, it kind of snags. I don't have any really sharp ones, so I had a little bit of a tough time getting my vinyl to cut around the rim. As you can see, I kept switching out to different ones. Once I had cut off most of the excess, I went in at a 45-degree angle and went around that rim again just to expose some of that stainless steel on the side of the tumbler. So I went in with my plaid and I butted that vinyl up against the leaf portion of the vinyl. I didn't like how it started to overlap the bottom V part of the top pattern. So I took it off and I realigned it a little further down. It doesn't matter that it's not flush up against it because we're going to be cutting out another V split using 1-inch painter's tape here in a minute. So I went ahead and I pulled that vinyl up tight over the bottom of the cup, and then went in and started cutting off the excess vinyl. I'm going in with 1-inch blue painter's tape and I'm butting that up against the bottom of the fall print vinyl, using it as my guide to create the third V-split portion of this tumbler. Going in, making sure I cut all of my edges and excess painter's tape. Once I make sure that is aligned, I go in with my X-Acto knife and I carefully go outside the painter's tape and trim off and around that painter's tape. So this way we are cutting that plaid vinyl so we can pull that up, and that's going to give us our outline to where we need to map out our glitter. I went in and I trimmed that overlapping excess of the plaid vinyl. I am using my vinyl cutting tool to cut off a slither of vinyl off the bottom just to even it out and make it flush to the side of the tumbler versus it going over that bottom where I risk the chances of it lifting when I epoxy. Once I am ready, we are going to go in with Motor City's Glitter's RUMPELSTILTSKIN. I just got this beautiful glitter in my cup swap box, so thank you Nikki at Motor City Glitters. I am super excited to be using this. It goes so well with the faux glitter on that plaid and the leaf vinyl. So I'm going in with some Mod Podge and a makeup brush, and I'm just going to go ahead and carefully keep that Mod Podge in that smaller triangle section, and then we're going to go ahead and coat this twice and glitter. Going in with painter's tape again, and we're going to go ahead and apply that painter's tape to the bottom side of that vinyl, just so this way when I apply my Mod Podge to glitter the bottom, it's not getting on my plaid vinyl. Once that first layer of glitter is dry, we're going to go back in with our Mod Podge with a pouncing motion, and we're just going to go ahead and pounce and dab that Mod Podge on. You don't want to use a sweeping motion because you're going to pull up that glitter that's already down, and any loose glitter that's in there is just going to fall and it's going to create a mess. So just do light pouncing motions. When I removed the bottom painter's tape, I left it on too long, so when I removed it, it did pull off some of that glitter on the edges. So I just went back in with a little bit of Mod Podge on my brush, pounced on some Mod Podge, and then took my finger and just sprinkled some of the glitter on to cover up those spots. I let this dry for 30 minutes, and then I started spray sealing it 3 times with clear Rust-Oleum spray paint. Once it was dry, I went in with 20 milliliters of Speedy PETEY's Fast Set Epoxy. You all already know how much I love Speedy PETEY epoxy. It literally dries within 2 hours to the touch, where I can take this off the turner and move on to my next stages without it being ruined. Went ahead and I applied this, let it cure for 45 minutes to an hour, went in with a second layer of epoxy using 15 milliliters of Speedy PETEY. Let that cure for 2 to 3 hours. I think at this point I kind of just let it go overnight as it was getting late. I did go in with my blowtorch to pop any bubbles I may or may not see. Once I had it spinning after a few minutes, I went in and removed any stray pieces of glitter, as I really wanted to keep the vinyl areas free from any glitter, as there are faux glitter in that vinyl on the top and the vinyl on the bottom. So once I had all those stray pieces removed, I went ahead and hit it again with my blowtorch just to pop any air bubbles from me picking at it with my tweezers. Let that sit overnight. So this is where we are so far. She's 100% cured. We're gonna go in with our sanding block around the rim and just re-expose that stainless steel and get off any epoxy bits that are inside the cup or on that top rim using your X-Acto knife and your sanding block. I go ahead and sand down that bottom just because you can feel a little bit of that vinyl lifted a little bit and you got that glitter that's a little chunky. Then I just go over a few small spots on the tumbler where the chunky bits of glitter are poking through. Just give that a nice little sand down. Then I go ahead and give the full cup a sand down just so this way our next layers of epoxy has something to stick to. I go in with some 91% rubbing alcohol and a coffee filter and just wipe away any of the debris from the sanding, because we want to make sure that I'm applying my vinyl to a clean, dust-free cup, just so this way there is no lifting of that vinyl. I went ahead and I cut out some strips out of this really pretty blue vinyl and then this gold metallic vinyl. I cut out some strips at 0.15, 0.07 and 0.03. So I don't know if any of y'all do this, but when I cut out my striping for my tumblers, there's always those strips in between that usually people just toss. I actually keep those in between and I just cut the lines and create all of those strips, because I can use those later on. There's nothing wrong with them. They're just negatives that are in between the actual sizing of my strips. So to save myself vinyl and strips, they're actually pretty decent size. I keep them and I save them for another time, which you'll see as I go on what I am talking about. When you see me pull the larger strips, you'll see smaller strips left on the blue, because those are the strips that I didn't cut, but they already kind of cut when they cut my larger strips. So that's another thing you can do too, is if you do a lot of the pinstriping, keep those smaller negative strips that are in between the actual sizes you want, because those can come in handy later on. I start with using my largest pinstriping first, which is my blue. I start that at the very first top part of the V-split, working my way down the cup. Once my blue pinstripes are on, we're gonna go ahead and start using my gold stripes. My gold stripes are sized at 0.07 and 0.03. And I line those up in the center of the blue pinstripes. And this is when I come to realize that my pinstriping was a little bit off-centered from the top two, but it wasn't that noticeable, so I just kind of left it, then trying to fix it as it was getting late. But make sure that your pinstripes are always even with the points of your V-split. Once I had my pinstriping on my tumbler the way that I wanted it, I went ahead and I did a thin coat of polyacrylic just to seal in that pinstriping vinyl, because where we had a lot of vinyl, I didn't want any of it to lift, and I was already having an issue with a few spots lifting, so I just wanted to go in and make sure that that vinyl was going to stay flat for when I went ahead and I epoxied. I let that dry for 30 minutes before going in with my final layers of epoxy. I went in with 20 milliliters of Speedy PETEY Fast Set Epoxy, let that cure for about 45 minutes to an hour, went in with my final coat of 15 milliliters of Speedy PETEY Epoxy, and I pretty much just let that turn until it was ready. After I let it spin for 10 to 15 minutes, I went in with my blowtorch and popped any and all bubbles I may or may not see. Once cured, it was finally done. I love everything about this tumbler, from the vinyl patterns to the pinstriping colors down to the glitter. Everything just went so well together and made this tumbler design way better than I possibly could have imagined. I hope this tumbler tutorial inspires you to go out of your comfort zone and create something beautiful. As always, thank you so much for watching our tumbler tutorials, and we'll see you again soon.